Hello, welcome to Back to the City. Today I am joined presently by Josh from Sunken Ship Irony. Last time that you were here, you were with our friend Cassidy from Artificial Flowers.
Yes.
And it was in the run-up to the Haunted Forests collaboration between those two bands at the Brighton Lake Bowl. I then went to that show and I got some nice footage of the full band, Sunken Ship Irony, performing in the Haunted Forest, and that is now presently integrated into this opening segment. I have it on good authority that you will later be joined today by Ivy.
Yeah, I don't know where they are. They're they always bring their A game, but they never bring it on time. So we'll see what happens.
And somewhere else that Ivy will be bringing their A game is to the VFW.
Yes.
This coming Thursday, when for the first ever, we're trying something new on a Thursday, early evening live music followed by dance parties, and Sunshine Emblem and Friends Volume 1 is with the Sunken Ship Irony.
Ship Irony.
And specifically Josh and Ivy, because you have a new EP.
Yeah, we're working on the Tangled Smoke EP, which is our next release. It's almost done.
Yeah. So we'll be showcasing songs from that Tangled Smoke EP, both at the VFW, so more music there, and also even today here, when Ivy arrives with their A game, then you'll be performing a couple of the songs, a couple of my favorite songs from the EP. Oh, speaking of which, thank you, Ghost. My friend Mr. Ducky's good friend there, the Ghost. This is very good timing there, Ghost, because this is Flower Crown, and one of the songs, in fact, the song that we can hear at the moment, or you can hear, viewers, is Forest Sounds, the opening track from this previous, this early record. And
we thought it was appropriate because the last time I was here, we all wore flower crowns, and then we released the Flower Crown album.
This Ghost is a flower crown presently, if anyone is unsure what a flower crown is. All kinds of visual aids, courtesy of Ghost. So I love that Forest Sounds works its way onto the new EP, and it fits particularly well, I think, because there are the references to the pond. This pond is home to new life, but most of it dies in the night. And there are references throughout the new record to the night and sleeping. Did I forget to sleep again in the opening track, which when Ivy gets here momentarily, you'll perform in the studio. And then there's a dream component. I mean, we'll get into all of this soon, and then we're dreaming of a candle. Do you have any thoughts to share about this new version of Forest Sounds and the decision to include it with the new version with Ivy on this forthcoming record?
I mean, I think we'll talk about that in the context of where it fits into the EP.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Once Ivy gets here, but it was definitely a deliberate choice to include that this time.
Perfect.
And it's a very, very different version than the original one we released on Flower Crown.
It is quite, isn't it? Well, let's give the viewers a sense of what the sound of a Sunken Ship Irony on this EP is, in the form of, I think, if I just announce Josh and Ivy now performing the opening track and the title track, Tangled Smoke, then Ivy will suddenly be there with their A game, as if by magic. So here are Josh and Ivy of A Sunken Ship Irony performing Tangled Smoke.
Oh, hey guys, sorry I'm late. It's great to see you, Simon.
Just on time. You just missed the Ghost.
No way! I love ghosts.
I sat there watching the tip of your cigarette avoiding the haze. Your dark hazel eyes as you left out of contact. Your dilated pupils never rest.
devastated open eyes. There's no progress in these times. We spend all our time untying twine we tied up way too tight.
Did you forget to sleep again? Did I forget to eat again?
Defiant through the uncompliant silence of the past few dozen
Did I forget to sleep again? Did I forget to eat again?
I can tell that you're still sad and so am I, and maybe that's just fine. I can tell that you're still sad and so am I, and maybe that's just fine.
I sat there holding your hand until 3 a.m. and I
Felt the weight on my back of the places that we've been.
and I can't shake the feeling that this was
The end.
But you've gone away and I still
Think about you every single day.
I don't know when that will change and
I don't know if that's okay.
I'm ashamed that I just crumbled in tired old cliche.
We spend all our time untying twine we tied up way too tight. Defiant through the uncompliant silence of the past few dozen
Did I forget to sleep again? Did I forget to eat again?
I can tell that you're still sad and so am I, and maybe that's just fine. I can tell that you're still sad and so am I, and maybe that's just fine. I can tell that you're still sad and so am I, maybe that's just fine.
Hello, friend. Ivy's here.
Hi.
That was a great performance.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You brought your A
Simon.
game.
I did.
I just heard that one of the first meaningful encounters of Josh and Ivy was at the VFW last time. Ivy and I shared a stage there.
Yes, it was. That was a great night. About a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
Now here I'm back.
here we are again. And now Josh is also, as we were just establishing before we started filming this segment, officially a people.
I'm officially a people, yeah.
Poison Ivy and the people. He's
Poison Ivy and
a member of the band. And of course, the occasion of the three of us being here today is that you have the EP, which is just the two of you. It's a Sunken Ship Irony EP that is Josh and Ivy. And you'll be performing songs from that at the VFW on Thursday with Sunken Ship this Thursday. How did this EP and this collaborative project, this version of Sunken Ship Irony come about?
So I think that like the Tangled Smoke EP came out of, I believe we were having a fight and Ivy approached me and was like, we should do an album about our relationship. And that idea was sort of bouncing around in my head for a while, and then as I was putting together songs for the Tangled Smoke EP, I sort of built it around that idea of sort of cataloging where we've come in our relationship.
At least for like the first half.
Yeah, it was like the first, the first
Before the
half.
sleeping happens, someone falls asleep, and then you were explaining to me, Josh, from that moment on, it's in the song Candles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a dream.
Yeah, then it becomes the rest of the EP as a dream. And speaking of Candles, you'll be performing that together in a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. But let's start with the song that you just performed, Tangled Smoke. As we heard, and as I referenced before, did you forget to sleep again? Did I forget to eat again? Sleeping, dreaming. It does seem to be a recurring focus, eating. Yeah. Is this the first song that the two that was composed for this EP?
That was composed specifically for the EP. I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, what is the genesis of this title track?
So we, as we were, so Ivy and I are dating now. I mean, that's I don't know if that's if that's been made explicit yet, but we're dating, and as in the lead up to that happening, we had a lot of like late night conversations about how this was gonna work, if we should do this, things like that, and Tangled Smoke was sort of came out of those late night conversations as we're
The song Tangled Smoke.
as we're
And
talking.
we kind of landed on like, no, we shouldn't do this.
We made that decision several times where it was like, I don't think we should, and we didn't, and
then I like left town for 3 months on the no, and that's when the song was written.
Yeah, and so Ivy was in Seattle, and I sent them a demo of the song.
And then, actually, Heads or Tails, the second track, How is Seattle?
The weather is making me sad. It's a battle. Today was especially bad.
I think that might be my favorite song on the record, the second track, Heads or Tails. And I like that moment, it was like passing the baton, and then the two of you are both singing, I can't do a thing besides talk on the phone. And then there are the two Joshes, at least two Joshes I can hear. Maybe it's the version that ends up being on the EP might have different vocals, I'm not sure. But it reminded me of the phone mic. Yeah. Maybe it is the phone mic. I can imagine that would be good visually live. All I can do is talk on the phone, and you're singing in a phone mic.
Yeah, and that song, when Ivy was in Seattle, I mean, do you wanna explain the lore of that?
Sure. So I was in Seattle for an extended period of time, and Josh started texting me good morning every day, and I was like, don't do that. Don't text me good morning every day, because I'm going to get used to it, and then one day you're not going to send it, and I'm going to freak out. And I guess he had the idea he was like, okay, well, what if I randomize it and just flip a coin every morning, and if it's heads, I'll text you good morning.
There we go, and that's why it begins. I flipped the coin and said heads, and then it ends. I flipped the coin, it says tails. So then the message isn't sent. The way in which these first few songs in the EP grapple with like interpersonal relationship and like what feels good about it and what feels challenging is really potent and powerful, I think. So it begins in Tangled Smoke with reflecting on looking into someone else's devastated open eyes. So there is this vulnerability and the connection, and it's kind of scary, but it's also meaningful. And I hate the distance. Obviously, in the second song, we're physically in different places, and we're wanting connection, and we're worried about what will happen if we get used to connection, and then anticipating it not being there sometime. It takes just one word to dispel the anxiety. So like we're anxious, as soon as there is the possibility of connection, then there's the anxiety about it going away, but then the anxiety gets dispelled. And I think that these songs do a really good job of kind of just reckoning with all of that, which I think hopefully is relatable content to most people who have a relationship of any kind with a person. How does that then develop in Forest Sounds, which, as already established, is a prior full band Sunken Ship Irony song?
Yeah, so Forest Sounds was the first song on the Flower Crown EP, or the Flower Crown album, and it was sort of written as like an introduction, because Flower Crown is all about my past relationships. And so in the first song, I was basically, I had spent all of this time, thinking about people I had had relationships with. I was like realizing how much I miss all of them, and so Forest Sounds came out of that as I was thinking about various people I had relationships with, how much I missed them, and I was like, is that really okay that I miss this person this much?
Is it okay that I miss you when we don't speak?
Yeah. And so then I brought that to Ivy once Ivy was in the band, and their suggestion was like, hey, why don't we like sing this together and sort of alternate in the chorus. So we'll basically like sing it to each other, and then
Which transforms it quite a bit, doesn't it? Because it goes from being like the isolated person reflecting on the absent past relationships
To more of a dialogue.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
narrative.
yeah, and as we were singing it to each other and looking in each other's eyes and singing it over and over, it like eventually sort of transformed into like a song that the two of us sing to each other as we miss each other.
there's such a sense of like connection and like achieved intimacy there with the singing together and asking one another vulnerably, is it okay? Is it okay? There's sorts of statements about I howl like the beasts. So it is like the original song, even though it's full band, is very much like an isolated single voice. Although of course there is Morgan's vocals. Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, Morgan comes in for a brief cameo in that.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
That song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's already a tapestry of the two vocals before, and it just gets richer. Presumably, the medium of the band, the Sunken Ship Irony, and singing together, like addressing one another, looking into one another's eyes, singing, I'd have thought would be quite the big catalyst in a relationship. So I like that is at the center of the EP as a kind of like testament to that.
Yeah. It's also like track 1, 2, and 4 are very sort of urban in their sort of imagery in their setting, and then Forest Sounds kind of is in the middle, and it's like out in the forest. And I mean, you know, like when Ivy was in Seattle, they spent a lot of time in the parks and in the woods and
Urban
kind of-
forests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it all just kind of crams together, and you know.
I referenced earlier already that there's a lyric in Forest Sands about the pond being home to new life, but most of it dies in the night. And I think that's such an interesting idea to bring into conversation with the second half of the EP after the two of you have performed the next song, which is Candle. So without any further ado, here are Josh and Ivy, Sunken Ship Irony, performing Candles on Back to the City.
Sit and stare while the city belches chemicals into the cold damp air. Listen to the wind. With every howling syllable, the storm is closing in. So you wait where it's dry, where the rain can't soak your clothing through, where the rain can't soak your clothing through. The night is still so young. There are so many terrible things left to think before it's done. Can you fall asleep while the shadows keep on stretching and the dark grows ever deep?
So you
Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
So you
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. And you dream about the candles light, and you dream about the candles light. And the flame will dance and flicker till it dies.
Thank you.
Could the two of you explain the transition that happens within Candles? You both kind of talked about it a little bit before, or just referenced the fact that it becomes a dream. There's multiple close your eyes, then the rest of the EP is a dream. What thoughts do we have to share about that significant, like, formal feature of the EP?
Really, the first 3 songs, the first half of the EP is, explicitly, strictly about our relationship. Candles, I actually wrote back before the pandemic, and it never really kind of fit into any of our other releases.
Mm-hmm.
But once this one, once we were like constructing this one, it just fell into place because the imagery of sitting and watching the rain and being in the city, it really just meshes with the rest of the EP.
Yeah.
But then Ivy had this, because I brought this to Ivy when we were performing it live at some point last year, and they had the suggestion of this part. This is "Close Your Eyes." Like, why don't we repeat that a few times?
Mm-hmm.
And because in the original version of the song, it wasn't like that. And so we added that repeated "Close Your Eyes, close your eyes." And so at that point in the EP, it shifts from being about our relationship to basically the narrator's falling asleep, and the rest of the EP is a dream. And so the rest of the EP kind of just ties into itself with, like, dreaming about the candle going out,
Mm-hmm.
and then dreaming about, looking at these, seeing these lights and watching the lights burn out. And, obviously, like, that's a metaphor for death.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the final song is "Smoke Over the Hill," which is, just about, like, walking over a hill and seeing smoke and being led towards it. And sort of what's implied is the narrator is being, like, enticed into this, like, ancient ritual.
Yes.
And we have a song called "To Oblivion," and that song is sort of a prequel to Oblivion. And so
Smoke Over the Hill is a prequel to Oblivion.
Yeah.
And we hear the ancient voices on the wind. Never will I go back home again.
Yeah. And so we start with "Tangled Smoke," which is sort of a metaphor for, for our lives becoming entangled. And then we end it with "A Different Smoke," which has a more sinister interpretation. And so we're bookending the EP with songs about smoke.
Yeah. I'm glad that you bring up ritual too. I was hoping you would, because that's the main thing that Clinton, aka Malian, the DJ, who's doing the Catharsis dance night immediately after our Sunshine Emblem and Sunken Ship Irony show on Thursday. That's the main thing that we were talking about. This is what you and Malian have in common.
Yeah.
It's a thing that you and Malian have in common. I think you will really like this dance night, by the way.
Yeah, and we got really into doing a lot of really theatrical things, bringing ghosts, building forests, wearing costumes, doing like full theatrical narratives in between songs and things like that. And as we were sort of piecing that together, this like theme of ritual kind of started emerging from that. And there's like a few of our shows where we perform a ritual that's like, rise, rise, spirits of the night, rise, rise, and haunt this place tonight. And then Haley goes around and lights all the ghost lights. And
it's a ritual in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going to live music events is a ritual. I like how a Sunken Ship Irony recognizes that and like maximizes that. Obviously, music is something that all three of us, and presumably all the viewers who are watching a TV show about music, it's central in our lives. And I think the whole interview with Clinton, the DJ, Malian, is about the relationship between music and ritual and like live music and coming together, the collective joy that, say, dancers at a dance night and participants in the concert can feel. I feel like a Sunken Ship Irony does really invite the people who were present at the ritual, which is a live music experience, to participate, not just to be a kind of passive audience. There's a number of ways in which you do. So I'm really excited for you to meet Clinton. It's slightly coincidental, but very, very tangible, the conversation that will happen between the early show and the late show.
Right on, right on.
Do you have any other thoughts about ritual and kind of the catharsis and the intentional way in which a Sunken Ship Irony as an entity invites a kind of somewhat cultish, I think, obviously a good way, participation in a very intentional experience?
I mean, I really have been attached to the idea of making a live stage performance about more than just getting up and performing songs,
right.
And thinking really hard about how are these songs tied together, how is like this setting of stage, like how is that tied into the themes of the songs, and how are outfits tied in with the themes of the songs. I don't necessarily know that it's like by its very nature it's participatory, but I think it definitely does invite people to perform little in like a lot of little ways. Like we did one show at Mortimer's, which was actually a Poison Ivy show, and a bunch of people wore stripes that day, and I thought that was really fun. And
yeah,
there's like little things like that we've sort of noticed people doing. Have anything to add?
I guess I'd say having ghosts, like one or more ghosts, kind of roaming throughout a venue, interacting with attendees. Like that's like how ghosts first started in the band. It was very interactive, like with the audience. Particularly, it was before I was in the band, so I wasn't singing anyway, and my whole job was to just be a ghost.
You were a ghost at the Brian Lake Bowl.
I was,
for example.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's pretty interactive when you have like this non-alive, non-human form, like, you know, in your face saying like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, well, like that's out of the norm. What do I do with this?
Yeah.
How do I interact with this being?
But one would expect it to be out of the norm, but with coincidence, that was just happening to me.
How
today.
did you handle the situation?
I accepted the gift of the CD.
Oh, as you should. You don't want to turn down a gift from a ghost.
No, absolutely. I like being on good terms with ghosts. Yeah.
Yes. So there's that interactive element, and just I think also in like various sets we've created in different locations.
I have the footage that we've been integrating into the episode of The Haunted Forest. There'll be less deco at the VFW for the stripped down set, and
I think that it really is different at each venue. I don't know, I think about that Cadence show we did, The Ineffable Sadness of Josh and Ivy, where we set up kind of a...
It was like a ritual space.
It was we
like
totally set up a ritual space,
circle.
like a circle of lit up ghosts, and
instead of performing on stage, we just set up in the audience. We set up a ritual space,
within
and we
that circle.
performed with completely unplugged. And the sound guy asked, like, "What do you need?" And I just gave him an iPod, and it just had like cricket sounds and like owls and things like that. So we just played that in the background, and then did our whole performance where we told a story about a ritual and a ghost, and sort of like the spirits of the dead sort of being resurrected for this special ceremony. And,
yeah, I think being in a bar or wherever and being surrounded by a lot more like ivy than usual, and like some ghosts, and it's just like there's something different about this. I feel like I've like walked into this different space.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you have plans for the performance on Thursday?
You'll have to see on Thursday.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Each performance is like intentional and a unique thing, so come on Thursday. They probably do have plans.
Yeah.
They do have plans. We'll experience what they are. My sense that, so back to that thought about in Forest Sounds, we have the new life that mostly dies in the night, and then in the dream, we have the dream. We're in that verse. It's like untangled.
Yeah.
That was very
We
thematic.
spend all our time untying twine. We've tied up way too tight.
It was an urge.
That was a nice visual metaphor. But we were dreaming about the candles lights. What is the significance of thank you, Ivy. What is the significance of that being the content of the dream?
I mean, so we talked about this a lot in the previous time I was here, where we were playing a lot with the contrast of life and death.
Yeah.
And that was where the stripes came from, was the black and white stripes of, life and death. Life and death and life and death and life and death. And my experience was that I survived cancer and spent a lot of time thinking about death and kind of obsessing about it. And that still kind of comes into every time I release something. The candles kind of going out was a metaphor for death, and then the lights going out in the song Filaments.
They only flicker like this when they're about to die.
Yeah, and is another I think it's pretty explicit that that's about death.
Yeah.
And so it's singing about this like relationship as it's like vibrant and full of life. And there's sort of the end of the EP sort of introduces the idea of death. So
Yeah. And then Never Will I Go Home Again in Smoke Over the Hill. Yeah. I'll provide when this is archived on YouTube, like in the description of the video, I'll put a link to the previous interviews, or both of you actually, may as well. But specifically just because we talked so much about all of that, didn't we, in the previous one. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just have a look in the video description and there'll be links to the previous interviews with my friends here. Speaking of friends, thank you for doing the first ever Sunshine Emblem and Friends show, friends.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
And the last time the two of you shared a stage together at the VFW, that was the day Ivy approached me and got my number.
So that was... We see what happens in the evolving story. That was the meaningful encounter.
Yeah.
There we go. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So to be continued, come and be part of the ever-evolving story. Participate. We encourage participation. On Thursday at the VFW, because it's a Thursday, nice early show, just two bands. Doors at 6, the duo set of Josh and Ivy, then Sunshine Emblem. By 9 o'clock, we'll be transitioning to Catharsis. So much overlap. Check out the interview with Clinton if you'd like to explore that. Lots more talking about ritual and purging. You will really like it. I think it's very much your thing, the collective. Yeah.
I'm very excited. It's going to be a great night.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, and then actually, I'm going to do one final full Back to the City interview right after this one, and that is with Buried Animals. I don't know if you've encountered that band before, another favorite local band of mine, and they'll be doing a feature in March, Sunshine Emblem and Friends, which will be followed by Jenny. There'll always be a dance party. Just two bands.
I love Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny.
So good.
Jenny is one of the very best local DJs, so, and a good friend, not just of Sunshine Emblem, but more importantly, Buried Animals. So that should be a really good fun. I like this new Thursday early evening double feature template. So again, thanks for doing the first one. Come and join us on Thursday, everyone. I've been Simon, this has been Ivy, this has been Josh, and all three of us will be at the VFW on Thursday.